Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It's late Friday night, West Coast time, early hours of Saturday right now. I had the news on tonight in the background, and I heard Donald Trump talking about Steve Scalise and the shooting he suffered and survived. You might recall this story from June 14th, 2017, shortly after Trump became the 45th president. June 14th is Trump's birthday. It's also the U.S. flag's birthday. And there was this shooting of Steve Scalise, a Republican congressman who played on the supposed baseball team that they have. And I forget what they said about the shooter. I remember he was some sort of political, activist or... Well, we can go back and look at that story. But anyway, I heard him bring up the shooting of Steve Scalise, and I said, oh, wow, that reminds me that Trump, that was during the time of the 115th Congress, and the upcoming World Series is 115. And just around the same time Trump brought up the Steve Scalise shooting, he congratulated the Louisiana Little League team because they won the Little League World Series. And he was speaking in Louisiana today, October 11, 2019. And, just before I get into what I want to say, for all the people out there that are so obsessed with Pizzagate and think that, Hillary Clinton's the kingpin of child sex trafficking and, Donald Trump would never have anything to do with anything like that, maybe you should watch his speech tonight and see how many times he talked about how handsome the boys were on the Little League World Series team. I mean, it got a bit creepy. It's like, okay, you made the point that you think they're handsome. How many times do you need to say it? I mean, is that normal? I don't ever remember any grown man congratulating a group of young boys on how good looking they are several times, as if that was the most important thing. Shouldn't he talk more about how they played baseball? Anyway. I mean, one time's nice, but to say it several times, I mean, that's what happened tonight. It's like, okay, one time, yeah, handsome team. Okay, wait, how many times are we going to say it now? You know what I mean? So anyway, before I get into this, because there's going to be a new person who's going to be like, what? For that person, just realize where you are, 2017 NFL season, Donald Trump took on the players over protesting the national anthem and flag in the NFL, and he did that on the date September 23rd. And before that season began, we knew the Patriots were going to be in the Super Bowl because of how scripted it is and the things we do on this channel to reveal how the script is foreshadowed, which is why we have the best futures record in the history of sports in the last 5 years, Anyway, Donald Trump took on the NFL over the flag and the protests on September 23rd. And this was the Saturday before the Week 3 games in the year that would conclude with Super Bowl 52. And I said, okay, I was looking for the Patriots NFC opponent. This has to be it. 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia is the home of the flag. 23/9 is the way the majority of the world writes September 23rd. And in history, Tom Brady became the quarterback of the Patriots on that day because Bledsoe got hurt. So, significant day, September 23rd. Anyway, just real quick on another side note about September 23rd, it leaves 99 days left in the year. The word Patriot equals 99. The United States of America equals 99. The country was named the United States of America on 9/9, September 9th. Anyway, the flag sewn at 239 Arch Street plus 239 is the 52nd prime number. It was the year of Super Bowl 52. Minnesota equals 52. We saw before the game was played, Zach Ertz, number 86 on the Eagles. The Super Bowl was 86 days after his birthday, and the national anthem was adopted 86 years before that season. And like I said, if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it would be Zach Ertz to score the winning touchdown, which is what happened. All these things talked about on this channel before the games happened. And remember, that's part of the reason my channel's been deleted 18 times. I mean, you have to think about what's being exposed with serious daily documented evidence on this channel. I've made over 5,000 videos since 2014 when I started. And how many times have I correctly predicted what would happen in the world of sports, how it was synced up with a news story? You know, how many times did we successfully do that? A whole lot. And plus way more, you know? So, because my channel's been deleted 18 times, the only people who can know that and appreciate that are the people who've been here the whole time, which is a large group of people. You know, despite what the new YouTube number says. You know, I advertise my new channel on my backup sports channel that I've had, and the video gets over 10,000 views in a day, but then it says my subscriber count's like 1,500. I mean, how does that make any sense? You mean those 10,000 people didn't come and subscribe to my new channel since they know I got deleted? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, for the person who thinks this kooky, I just want you to know, those are just, you know, a very small amount of things that have been predicted. If you're like, well, what else have you done? Well, pretty much every other sports championship from the time we've been here in 2014 up to the present. You know, trust me, I can go down the list if I want to. But I just want to show you something that I've been looking at, and I'm going, wow, is this really what they're doing? So check this out. Donald Trump's in Louisiana tonight. He's telling, you know, little boys they're handsome 20 times, and he's bragging about how he's opened up all the preserved areas in Alaska for the greatest oil drilling ever. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of a sad thing to think about. In a planet where we now have the technology for, you know, all sorts of renewable energy that truly is better. Because, I mean, if you look at the way we have to get energy to dig up and destroy the earth to extract the energy, like, have you ever driven through Montana? There's mountains that used to be there that aren't even there anymore because they cut them all down for coal, like, literally. If you ever drive through Montana, state with a lot of resources, remember, like, a Tonka truck when you were a kid? There's giant Tonka trucks driving around Montana, but they're like 100 trucks that you used to see on the road, and they're hauling away chunks of mountain coal. And, I mean, if you think about that, I mean, that's kind of sad. Just destroying the natural landscape so that, you know, so the nightlight can burn. I live out here in the Pacific Northwest where a lot of it is powered by rivers and dams, but, you know, even rivers and dams are destructive because it messes up, you know, the nature of the river. You know, it's changing nature to power the night lamps. And, you know, digging up Alaska, a serene place, you know, just logging, just knocking down protected woods, you know, whatever species that are still there. So for people who've never lived anywhere beautiful, because we all grew up in this generation where almost the whole country's been logged anyway, I used to live in this area north of Seattle called Bothell, Washington. And when I first moved there, they were protecting a lot of the trees, and there were just so many birds in that area. Because, I mean, I'd lived in a few different spots, and I just realized there was less and less birds, but in Bothell, Washington, there was a ton of birds, and including bald eagles. I mean, just awesome. And it's because there was so much forest there that was protected, and everything else around it's like city, so all that, you know, big animals have come to those trees, that area for the most part, plus just everything else. And, in the 6 years that I lived there, man, they started to open it up and just log and cut down, and I just realized, like, the bird population, you just didn't see it anymore either. You know, like, you just didn't see the eagle the last year I was there because they just cut down so many trees, and I was like, is the eagle dead, or did the eagle move on somewhere else? You know, plus everything else. So anyway, Donald Trump's bragging about, like, tearing up the earth when we could be doing smarter things. And I mean, it's not just about doing smarter things to save the earth, because some people are like, well, fuck the earth. Well, for that person who's watching, like, first of all, I don't understand your attitude, fuck the earth, but I know you exist. I've met you many times. Think about it from a different perspective then. Like, imagine if the nation focused on developing, you know, sustainable energy, better solar, you know, better wind, better geothermal, and made it affordable for U.S. consumers. You know, we subsidize, like, to build Walmarts. Do we need to keep subsidizing to build Walmarts and, you know, bombs and missiles and, you know, fighter jets that sit on aircraft carriers that, you know, all they ever do is go through war simulation drills? Is this what's most important for humanity? Or is it like, yeah, let's subsidize clean energy and see if we can help restore the planet and stop cutting down mountains and, You know, and think about it, just to like get into log these areas, they have to cut down the trees and create the routes and disturb all the environment. I mean, that's the problem with having to do all this stuff. And when you live in an area and just get to witness it in a short period of time, 6 years, just how fast it can change. It's just like, yeah, just think about what we've done to the planet, like over the last, however long the industrial age has been now, the late 1800s. So, anyway, to hear Trump tonight and just think like so many people think he's their hero. I'll tell you what, he's an entertainer, and people like that he's not a typical politician, but just realize that's how the cabal controls the populace, by giving them something that seems a little bit different, but in reality, Trump's just kind of like the Republican wet dream right now, and understand it's a built-up narrative. He's like the Fox News, what's the bald fat guy's name? Rush Limbaugh. He's like their wet dream, and I think somehow even does Rush Limbaugh support Trump? I'm not even sure anymore because there's been some stuff there. But Limbaugh for years said build the wall, and Trump is it. He's the right wing talk radio come to fruition. So everybody thinks that they don't realize that the whole narrative and all these ideas have been built to come to this moment. And it's very divisive, too, because, that's who Rush Limbaugh and Fox News are, too, right? Divisive. Just like Trump's just the sociopath who's willing to play the part and act like the Democrats are so evil and the Republicans are the greatest. And people are like, God, you don't see it, do you? He's a New York Democrat until his mid-60s. Obama becomes president, and he hasn't even been a Republican for 10 years. Think about it. He hasn't even been a Republican for 10 years. Or maybe it's right about 10 years now, but anyway. I haven't even got to the main point I want to make yet. I'm just like, how don't people see through this? And I know it's because they don't watch this channel. We've been proving what a puppet he is, and, he's just delivering what half the people want to hear in the very divided populace that we are. But anyhow, look at this. He brings up the Steve Scalise shooting. I have this in the background. This is what catches my ear. I'm like, wait a minute. He's bringing that up right as we're getting close to the World Series. And I was like, yeah, that was the 115th Congress. I remember because he went on the thank you tour, which equals 115. It's like, what president goes on a thank you tour after they get selected? This guy's such an ass. Anyway, he gave this speech in Lake Charles, Louisiana. You write that on a piece of postage. Sums to 45, like how he's number 45. Major League equals 45. When you add 1 through 9 together, it equals 45. Like there's 9 innings in a Major League Baseball game. Lake Charles, LA is also 81 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. 81 like ritual. He gave this speech October 11th, the day leaving 81 days left in the year. And again, Major League 45. 1 through 9, 45. 9 innings in a baseball game. Trump in 2009, Serta Mattresses, talking to Sheep number 9 about being born for the job, wearing the same suit and tie he wore for selection night. Again, when you add 1 through 9, 45. If you've never seen this Serta ad, look it up. Sheep 11 and 9 on pillars. Think about that symbolism. And when you watch this commercial, listen to what this sheep says. Where's your dignity? This commercial was projecting what Trump was to become. Look at how he's standing. Like he's being sworn in. In this commercial, he talks about being born for the job. This is the exact same suit and tie he wore for election night. Look it up. So anyway, Trump came in with the 115th Congress. The 115th World Series begins in just days. It's the Nationals versus St. Louis. On Patreon, we've talked about how since the beginning of the year, St. Louis is the only city using the alphabetic order that sums to 115 in the year of the 115th World Series. It's the Cardinals' 138th season, the St. Louis Cardinals. Nationals in Gematria sums to 138. And here, so you don't have to take my word for it. Let's just go over it in case you're new here. There's 4 base ciphers. You want to know them all. In this video, we're going to talk about 105, 138, and 57. And somebody out there is going, but what about 33? Well, 33 is just so already understood. Like how Washington, D.C. is named after a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. Like how the Scottish Rite headquarters there, the House of the Temple, has 33 pillars on the outside. That number is just so boring and played out here. We're going to talk about 105, 138, and 57. So The Nationals manager, his name's Dave Martinez. And if you decode sports, you're going to find this type of stuff all over the world. Dave Martinez is 138 and 57. Again, so is Nationals. You see? The 4 ciphers, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. A is 1 to Z is 26. The other one, Z is 1 back to A is 26. And then numerology is just making every letter a single digit number. So like Z, the 26th letter, 2 plus 6 is 8. So Z's 8. You just add up the digits to make a single digit. Forwards, backwards. These are your 4 ciphers. So, again, it's the Cardinals' 138th season. And if you're going, well, how can I verify that? There's this site called Pro Baseball Reference. There's one for every pro sport. Has a lot of great information. So, if you go to their site and click on their franchise page, it'll tell you what season they're in. This is the Cardinals' 138th season, right? And that Steve Scalise shooting was on Donald Trump's birthday. Donald Trump's 138. You know, think about Paul Manafort, his right-hand man, another 138. Federal's 38. The same day of this speech, Donald Trump, the Ukraine ambassador, came up to speak against him. She began her position as ambassador on May 18th, the 138th day of the year. Anyway, so you have this 138 ritual going on. And to understand how scripted things are and just watch it with gematria, when the Cardinals advanced over the Atlanta Braves, who just had a ritual with Jimmy Carter, the 39th president, he fell down and bumped his head the same day the Braves came back in the 9th inning and scored 3 runs to win. 39. They play in Cumberland, 39. But anyway, the Cardinals just advanced over the Braves. And when they did, they became 13-6 against the Braves in the postseason. 13-6, like 136. And the Dodgers, who got eliminated the same day, guess what season they were in? They were in their 136th season. That's the 16th triangular number. 53 is the 16th prime number. Last year there was a big ritual with Los Angeles 53, Boston Red Sox 53, Patriots 53, Super Bowl 53, you know. And by the way, we figured these things out before they happened. We saw in July of 2018 that if the Red Sox won the World Series in Game 5, 4-1, that would be 99 days before the Super Bowl to conclude the 99th NFL season, won by New England 99, Patriot 99. And the reason it mattered that Boston would win 4-1 is because Super Bowl equals 41, and Brady was going to be 41 years old for the Super Bowl, which he won. So anyway, that was Super Bowl 53, the 16th prime, 16 points scored. They have this 16 ritual to close out Los Angeles and Atlanta. Where was the Super Bowl at? Was the Super Bowl in Atlanta? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And check this out. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If you doubt that this is true, it's too bad because, you know, again, we thought the Super Bowl would be Patriots and Rams before the season began last year. One gentleman won $300,000 off it. He put a lot down on it because he really liked the riddle. But Brady played in his 307th playoff game in 307th game period in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is where Super Bowl 53 was at. 307 is the 63rd prime, and he became 6-3 in Super Bowls. And if you go look, the VCU Rams played the George Mason Patriots the day before the Super Bowl, and the Patriots lost that game with 63 points. If you go back in NFL history, the original Rams team was named after the VCU Rams University. And check this out about George Mason Patriots. Oops, I gotta spell it right. It equals 237. Tom Brady got his 237th win in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 53. Patriots 53. Los Angeles 53. And remember, it was synced up with the Boston Red Sox 53. Whoops, got to spell right. 53. You see? And then you got the St. Louis Blues Boston Stanley Cup, where St. Louis used to be the home of the Rams. You see? And now St. Louis is going forward in the 115th World Series. The pitcher tonight, Anibal Sanchez, who nearly no-hit St. Louis. 115. And Miles Mikolas, he became 10-15 all-time for his career. 10-15, 1015. Bill Bidwell, who just died for the St. Louis, or not, well, they used to be the St. Louis Cardinals, now the Arizona Cardinals football team. His name in Jewish gematria equals 1015. So anyway, coming back to this shooting of Steve Scalise and why it matters with this event. Okay, it was June 14th, 2017. It was a date with 57 numerology. World Series equals 57. Scottish Rite equals 57. And from the date of the shooting to the start of the World Series, which is October 22nd, it's a span of 861 days. The reason this is a trip is because 861 is the 41st triangular number, right? Scalise equals 41. Notice Skull and Bones equals 41 and 202, and Lake Charles equals 41 and 202. Again, that's where Trump gave his speech tonight. And if this sounds dumb, do realize that throughout the year, we nailed a lot of games in the MLB season by seeing how they were synced up with the death of George H.W. Bush and how they paid tribute to Skull and Bones. We also did this at the end of the season with the Nationals and Indians series, and I'll review all that. But we've been talking about Skull and Bones. Again, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, both members of Yale Skull and Bones. We've been talking about these riddles all year because the Bush family used to run the Rangers, and Verlander, when he won the World Series the other year, posed with both Bushes. This is the Astros' 58th season. Bush equals 58. George W. Bush equals 58. So, anyway, here, let me go through this. I just need you to understand that this isn't just like a whole bunch of nonsense being put together. This is part of ongoing documentation and calling things before they happen, and very specifically, which anyone can go back and verify because it's all on the Patreon page where stuff's archived. You can go back and watch the April 20th, 2019 baseball live stream, and you can skip around the video until you find the part where the Rangers thing's on the screen. And we talk about why the Rangers will likely upset the Astros, which would be a big payout at the time because it's going to be a tribute to George H.W. Bush and his death on November 30th at age 94. So I'm going to get to that, but check this out. The man who was shot in this ritual that comes to 41 Skull and Bones, his full name is Stephen Joseph Scalise, 105, like Nationals is 105. Masonry is also 105. Special number there. Here's Verlander with George W. and George H.W., the year of the 113th World Series, where they beat the Dodgers. And by the way, if you are new here, if you type in Vice Sports, Zachary K. Hubbard, if you read this article was written after the World Series was over, after I was proven correct about my August prediction of the Astros beating the Dodgers in the World Series and what it would have to do with Hurricane Harvey, where Matt Harvey became the first pitcher to pitch in Houston after Hurricane Harvey, and how perfectly it was synced with the World Series and also the La Tuna fires of Los Angeles. But they wrote this article making fun. And again, because of this knowledge, we've been able to connect sports and news. USA Today, they wrote this article just before Super Bowl 50, where that year I had said why the Super Bowl would be the Broncos over the Panthers, why Von Miller would be the MVP, why there'd be a Black Panther tribute, why it would be a tribute to Super Bowl 24. All those things came true. Broncos beat Panthers, and I called this in October. Von Miller won MVP. Beyonce got criticized for dressing up as a Black Panther, and the Broncos won with 24 points. The Broncos got blown out in Super Bowl 24 by the 49ers, who hosted Super Bowl 50. San Francisco equals 50. Gold equals 38. Colorado equals 38. It was the golden anniversary, the 50th year of the NFL. And Colorado won it on the 38th day of the year, February 7th. And the reason we had the Panthers in that Super Bowl is because Huey P. Newton established the Black Panther Party. Huey P. Newton established the Black Panther Party in the Bay Area in 1966, the year of the first Super Bowl season, 66-67. Huey P. Newton And think about Cam Newton with the Black Panther on his helmet. Huey P. Newton equals 58. We figured out in October that if Cam Newton started against a quarterback who'd already been in the Super Bowl, he'd become the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. Huey P. Newton, 58. Freemasonry, 58. Secret Society, 58. Oakland, 58, where it was established. Again, the Super Bowl was in the Bay Area that year. And that was the year of all the black, white police officer shootings and the hands up, don't shoot. So I was like, look at it, the Black Panther, the White Bronco, O.J. Simpson. You had Cuba Gooding Jr. coming out with a show about O.J. Simpson around that same time, starting with the White Bronco chase, and Jerry Maguire. Is it his brother at the end or his friend? I can't remember, but he's like a Black Panther. We were talking about all that season. And USA Today wrote this hit piece the bye week before the Super Bowl, totally downplaying what I had called that year and making fun because at one point I said, I could be wrong about the Broncos. I said my dad is just saying I'm out of my mind. There's no way they're going to get past the Patriots. And because people were asking me if they should bet on it, so I made a video. I said, well, it's up to you. I said, my dad thinks I'm insane, but there's all this evidence. We've documented it all this way, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But nobody thought that old, washed-up Peyton Manning could get by Tom Brady that year. But like I was telling people, it's scripted. It's theater. It's a joke. It's 9/11. It's the Patriot Act. It's the New England Patriots. It's the Tuck Rule. It's Thursday Night Football where they give you the most blatant pass interference call that it should have so easily been overturned, but then wasn't, even with the new replay rule. Just to remind you what it's been for the Patriots ever since 9/11. It's just mockery. It's just a psychological mind effing. That's what it is. Coming straight from the secret societies. I'll encourage people to think about this right now. The Bush family, CIA, Oval Office, ran professional sports teams, again, from a powerful secret society. How many other people in this world in high positions do you think are part of powerful secret societies? How many other sports owners? How many other people in office? How many people that run news networks? It's the Bush family. What's Billy Bush? And Billy Bush, of course, connected to the whole Clinton-Trump thing at the beginning, part of that family. Think this stuff's an accident? Man, amazing. That family is talented. They're on primetime TV. They're in the Oval Office. They own sports teams. And we got to see George W. Bush. Either he's the greatest actor alive or, he's a low-functioning dolt. Which one is it? Dancing at the police funeral on, after the 7/7 shooting? Don't even get me started on that. But remember how he was dancing at the funeral? He was dancing at a funeral. George W. Bush, man. I think he did way too many lines personally. But anyway, getting back on track. Verlander wears the number 35. Wasn't there a story this year about Verlander and juiced balls? I swear to God that equals 35. Yeah, it does. In what's considered the most pure cipher. Juiced balls, 35. But anyway, notice Skull and Bones, 149 and 41, like HW was 41, like how he died on November 30th. And by the way, I said he wouldn't live past age 94. And I said he wouldn't make it past November of 2018. And people trolled me so hard up until he died in the closing hours of November 30th. Number 41, on the same day Paul Walker died, who starred in the movie about Skull and Bones. But Skull and Bones, 149 with the alphabetic order, 35th prime, 41 with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. Bush, number 41. And check this out. If you write out 41, it equals 118, right? If you write out George, Herbert, Walker, Bush, it equals 118. And if you write out ossuary, it equals 118. That's where Skull and Bones gets its symbolism from. That's the way you bury people in an ossuary. You bury them in a shallow grave. You let their body decompose. You take the bones. You put it in a... There's a way you do it, but the way you finish is with the thigh bones, the biggest bones in the body on the top, and the skull. An ossuary is like a box that you put bones in. It's like a compact coffin. First you have to decompose the person, so you put the bones in this ritualistic way. That's where Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from. And the reason it matters is because that's how the Knights Templar used to bury their dead. It's like the way they'd honor them. Knights Templar, roots of Masonry. Knights Templar. That's a big topic. Anyway. That's where all this comes from, though. Supposedly the Knights Templar, after the Crusades, captured this knowledge of Kabbalah, and then it became the language of the Kabbalah. Kabbalah's book of formation said God created the world with letters, numbers, and words. But anyway, Skull and Bones, 149, 35th prime, Verlander with the Skull and Bones boys, the Shrubs. And again, this year, right now, it's the Astros' 58th season. Bush equals 58, George W. Bush 58. He won with 271 electoral votes, the 58th prime. Today, Shepard Smith resigned on his 271st day of his age because he has beef with Trump, who won the rigged 58th U.S. presidential election. But check this out. Here's something that we did earlier this year on Patreon. Before this game was played, this is from April 20th, 2019, if anybody wants to look this up. And if you want to sign up for Patreon and scroll way back, it's like 1,000 posts back, but it's there. If you want to go back to April 20th, 2019, we looked at this game and we said, look at this. If the Rangers upset the Astros, even though they were the road team, were big favorites, because Astros were big favorites for a lot of games this year. But we looked at this game before it was played, and we said, if the Rangers win, they'll become 11-8 and 9-4 after the death of George Herbert Walker Bush, 118 at age 94, when the Bush family used to run the Rangers, and Bush just posed with Verlander when they won the World Series. That's what we talked about before the game, right? So what do you think we did when we were talking about his death at 94? And we saw that the score of this game was 9-4. You know? This game was April 20th. And, you know, just while I'm at it, real-time thought, because I didn't even actually do this. I just want to see how... This is the 110th day of the year. President equals 110. But the World Series starts October 22nd. I just want to see how it lines up. 185 days. That's interesting because mathematics is 185. That is interesting. Okay, but anyway, the score ended up being 9-4, and this is where this knowledge really pays. If you're patient with this knowledge, if you try to pick every single game, it's tough because a lot of narratives are tight. You can make an argument on both sides, but if you pay attention to what's going on in the world and you know enough about the world and sports, and anyway, you can do things like this. You can be like, wait a minute, George Herbert Walker Bush is 118, died at 94, used to run the Rangers. When you just realize that this is how sports are rigged and scripted every year, as we've been proving for years, that's why we have confidence in this and we back it up, you can see, this is a good game to take the upset, And the Rangers came through 9-4. And look at what happened to the Astros. They fell to 13-7 and 7-7 away. Remember, Houston's 77, but Washington, D.C.'s on the 77th meridian. Secret Society has that 7... Wait a minute, you got to spell right. Secret Society has that 77 connection. And oh my goodness, it's actually 185 too, just like how it's 185 days from this game to the World Series. And again, it's the Astros' 58th season. Okay. Yeah, but you see how it's 13-7 overall record and 7-7 away. 13-7, right? 137, the 33rd prime. Washington D.C. Hold on. Washington D.C. is 137. White House is 137. Government is 137. Authorities 137. In Hebrew, Kabbalah is 137. If you're like, prove it, here, I'll prove it. That's why I want somebody to debate me, because I just want to stop with statements like that and somebody be like, okay, prove it. I'll be like, okay, get ready for me to talk for the next 4 hours. If you're lucky. Could be here for 10. You know what I mean? But here's how you can prove this. English to Hebrew. If you type in Kabbalah, you get the Hebrew value. And, because Derek put in some good work on this calculator, you go to foreign, you can put in the Hebrew ciphers. There's 14 ciphers used in Hebrew, but Derek has 4 primary ones here. The one that's just called Hebrew Gematria, notice it's 137. You see that? The word for Kabbalah. And what's interesting is Genesis 3:22. Genesis 3:22 pays tribute to Kabbalah, the tree of life. And Genesis means in the beginning, which equals 137, and 137 is the 33rd prime, and Genesis equals 33. Some people say the translation of Genesis is seed. There's a popular church chain in the U.S. called Seed. Seed, the one day of the week that sums to 33 is Sunday, the day that's become the day of worship. In the Bible it says it's Saturday, but somehow in Christianity it became Sunday. And isn't it weird how we use the word son for, the offspring, the male offspring, the sun in the sky, Jesus Christ the Son. By the way, Jesus Christ in Hebrew sums to 3:16. Should we do it? Remember what was the super Jesus-y, I'm a virgin quarterback? Tim Tebow. Have you ever looked into the Tim Tebow 3:16 ritual that happened with the Denver Broncos? Have you ever looked into that? But here, I want to show you Jesus Christ real quick, because everybody knows John 3:16, right? Everyone's heard that. Someone's like, yeah, WWE. But check it out. In Hebrew Gematria, Jesus Christ 3:16. There's a lot of really interesting things in Gematria. That's why I'm surprised, I feel like what this knowledge really needs to be introduced is not to teach people the conspiracy angle, because so many people are just scared of conspiracy, but just teach them the cool angle. Just pick out all the cool things about Gematria. So, just to reach people with it, because then maybe when they become aware of it, just like how it happened for me and everyone else, once you become aware of it, you're just like, wait a minute, is there something else going on here? I swear to God, I keep seeing the same number. So, anyway. What else I thought was weird is I just noticed there were 11 hits to 10 hits in that game, and I was like, wait a minute, it's the 10th month, 11th day as I'm putting these last pieces of the puzzle together here. It's taken me a long time this year. Baseball's really kicked my ass because they did this major ritual with Philadelphia all year. The Philadelphia Phillies. Now I'm like, wait a minute, this shooting was the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Maybe that's why they kept coding out stuff with Philadelphia. But check this out. I think I covered everything here. Okay, this is what you need to know, though. There's this skull and bones ritual, which I haven't finished explaining yet, for the Nationals and the Astros. Verlander got a big win this year that was a big 2-2-3 ritual, the reflection of 3-2-2. Let me show you this thing about David Ortiz, and then I'm going to show you something really cool about 3-2-2 in Genesis, since I brought up the Bible. But check this out. David Ortiz's birthday is November 18th, right? The 322nd day of the year. And when the Bruins won their 321st postseason game, this story came out of David Ortiz being shot, who played in a World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way. He was a World Series MVP for Boston. But the story came out of David Ortiz getting shot. And I was saying, come on, we're talking about... Before the postseason began, we pointed out that if Boston won the Stanley Cup, they'd get to that infamous number, 322 wins, 3-2-2. And it would have been 3 championships for the city of Boston within 1 year's time. The World Series, the Super Bowl, and the Stanley Cup. And again, the World Series was Boston-LA. The Super Bowl was Boston-LA. The Stanley Cup was Boston-St. Louis. And the Rams, the St. Louis Rams, had just recently gone to LA. Now, you get St. Louis, the only team that sums to 115 with a shot at the World Series, right? So there's something else going on here. And anyway, when the Bruins got their 321st postseason win, David Ortiz got shot, and I said right away, look at that. He's just born on the 322nd day of the year. And at the time of the shooting, he was 43 years old, David Ortiz. Where do I have that at for him? David Ortiz, 43 years old. He turned 43 November 18th, 2018. This just happened, the shooting, June of 2019. But he was 43 at the time, right? November 18th, his birthday is the 322nd day of the year, leaving 43 days remaining. Remember, Skull and Bones, which identifies through 322, the number 322, because their dorm's at the address 322. Well, at least supposedly that's the reason. That's at Yale, which equals 43, like Masonic. Jeb Bush of the Bush family was the 43rd governor of Florida in the time of the 43rd election of the, or not the 43rd election, but in the time his brother became the 43rd president in a race that came down to Florida where his brother was the 43rd governor. And his father, of course, was the 43rd vice president, but the 41st president. And George W. Bush became the 43rd president in an election that came down to Florida. Florida. D.C., named after a Mason. D is 4, C is 3. You know. So, anyway, I got this idea to go back and look at June 14th, 2017, the day of the Steve Scalise shooting, to see what the scores were in baseball that day, right? And look at this. The Astros beat the Rangers. Again, Bushes ran the Astros. Not Astros, I mean Rangers, sorry. The Rangers. And again, they posed with Verlander the year of the 113th World Series. Let's not forget Scottish equals 113, just like how the portraits of those two are up in the House of the Temple, the Scottish Rite headquarters in D.C., and the city named after the Scottish Rite Freemason, George Washington. But the Braves and Nationals played each other that day as well, and the score was 13-2. 13-2, Rangers Astros, 13-2 Braves Nationals. This is the day of the Steve Scalise shooting, in the time of the 115th Congress, just before the 115th World Series. And it's just like, I told my people on Patreon, I'm going to tell you something. They did all these riddles for the Yankees this year, synced up with the World Series. The Yankees could still totally be there. Even the death of the Supreme Court justice was synced up with Aaron Judge. It's sick. It's mind-blowing what the world elite are doing. You know, the same people who do control government and sports. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to see that. What goes on in the advertising during a sports game? It's all military or corporate sales and beer drinking. And, flyovers, military flyovers, all sorts of saluting of the troops at all sports events. I mean, all the time, really. They come out before the game. They're part of the music often. I mean, anyway, it's just so easy to see. It's just like, and again, it's like you don't have to, it's like you have to know nothing about the world or history to not see how these things are still the way they've always been. You know, all the Roman architecture in D.C., how did the Roman government control the people? Oh, with sports and games? Has anyone read George Orwell's book? I mean, that was more than a book, 1984. United States of America's 84, Masonry's 84, Jesuits 84, Zionism 84. He was a member of the Fabian Society established in 1884. But anyway, these scores are from the day of the Steve Scalise shooting. And the only thing more mind-blowing than this to me is how many times Donald Trump told the little boys they were handsome today. Is there going to be a new Pizzagate conspiracy that opens up, this time focusing on Trump? Because, trust me, I don't like the Clintons either. I don't like any of these politician frauds. But, I mean, seriously, Trump went beyond creepy today. He was just way too into the looks of those little boys. But anyway, this score, 13-2, right? And it all coming back to the White House. That's how many rooms are in the White House. 132. United States of America equals 132. I know what to show you. If you think this is stupid what I'm about to show you, stay tuned, because at the end of the video I'm going to tell you where you can get my Coincidence Theorist t-shirt. It's not out yet, but it's coming soon. Hold on. This should pull it up. No. How's this come up? I got too much information on this blog. Here we go. This is what I want. So check this out. With regards to 132, that's the point we're going to get to. On September 9th, 1776, that's the day the United States of America was given the name we now call it, the United States of America. Before that, it was the United Colonies. The United States of America equals 99, and it was named on 9/9. And consider English, what we speak, the world of the language. Whoa, dyslexic. The language of the world now. Realize, at the same time the English alphabet was being standardized with 26 letters and the spellings that are commonly used throughout the world, is the same time the Gregorian calendar was coming into place. These things were happening at the same time. If you read my book, there's a deeper layer to that. And think about who gave us this calendar. Think about who works by this code every single day. Don't forget the nation's capital used to be the Catholic colony. That's why it's between Virginia and Maryland, Virgin Mary. But anyway, the United States of America, 99. When you write out 13, it equals 99. Think about 13 colonies, 13 stripes, 13 years of public school programming. September 9th is the day leaving 113 days left in the year. United States is 113. So is Scottish. The Bavarian Illuminati was established May 1st, 1776, a date with 99 numerology by 13 families, by Adam Weishaupt, a name that equals 51 on May 1st, 5-1. And from the day that Bavarian Illuminati was established, just before the American Revolution, to the day the United States of America was named, was 132 days. You see how it's also 4 months and 9 days? Look at America, 49. America, I can go through all this. 50 states, a million territories, 32s. Let me type in Scottish. Watch the 32 and 49. America's date of establishment, 7/4/1776. 7 plus 4 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6 is 32. 49. Ancient accepted Scottish, rite of Freemasonry. This is what's etched on the building in Washington, D.C. Ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry. It's 187, like George Washington, like Washington's D.C. George Washington equals 187. Washington, D.C. equals 187. George W. Bush is born on the 187th day of the year. Donald Trump had his GOP convention July 18th, 18/7. That was the start date, a span of 187 days from Inauguration Day. But this 227, it's the 49th prime number. 227, the 49th prime, against Scottish. 49. America, 49. How about Washington, the Scottish Rite Freemason? Washington, 49. So America, we know the 50. We know the 32. We know the 49. What about the 139? Freemasonry. Boom, 139. How about this one? The Bavarian Illuminati. 139. May 1st, 1776. That was the 122nd day of the year. The reflection of 221. So anyway, what are the odds? What are the odds? By the way, while we're at it, USA 41, the 13th prime, to bring us back to that 13. Bavarian Illuminati, 13 families. I mean, what are the odds? So for all my people who've been asking me if we need to hedge since we like the Yankees a lot, yeah, I think we need to hedge. I think the time is now to hedge. Like I told you, the time to hedge was probably just before the playoffs began, when you had the best odds at a team other than the Yankees making it to the World Series. And as we just documented, we saw Skull and Bones rituals. Uh-oh, my camera froze after I told people to hedge. Anyway, this is what we documented before the game was played. And the video's up on this channel, even on this new 19th channel. The video's up before the game was played this day, about how a Skull and Bones ritual will be achieved if the Nationals beat the Indians. And check this out. This is what it was. Dave Martinez, these were his manager stats before the game played, where the Nationals picked up their 48th home win of the season over Cleveland. It was going to be his 322nd game, 3-2-2. And by the way, I meant to make the point that the Boston Bruins lost the Stanley Cup, so they didn't get that 322nd win after the shooting of David Ortiz, born on the 322nd day of the year. But this 3-2-2 ritual definitely hit for Dave Martinez. In his 322nd game, we saw he could win and stay on 149 losses. Skull and Bones is 149. And again, I've been talking about scenes like from the film Enemy of the State, which came out on November 18th, the 322nd day of the year. In that film, Will Smith checks his watch and the time is 3:22. If you watch that movie on DVD or stream it or whatever and you pause it, when he looks at his watch and it's 3:22, if you pause the film, you'll see it's 1 hour and 49 minutes into the movie. 3:22 on the watch, hour 49 minutes, Skull and Bones 149. So, and I just documented this with the whole Robert Mueller testimony. It was a 149 322 ritual. He was called to testify 322 days from his birthday. And the investigation concluded on the 149th day of the year. And by the way, Robert Mueller equals 187. Anyway. This is what we saw before the game was played, though. In light of a Skull and Bones ritual going down in Washington, D.C. against the Indians, I said right away, think about the story of Prescott Bush stealing Geronimo's skull. So we looked at this before the game was played. We saw that from the day Geronimo died, which is actually the 48th day of the year, and the Nationals were playing this game on a 48-date numerology, going for their 48th home win of the season against Cleveland, which equals 48. We saw Geronimo died on the 48th day of the year, February 17th. And from that day to the day of the game where the Indians picked up their where they picked up their 48th home win, which was also on the Jesuit birthday, September 27th, it was 223 days, the 48th prime number. Cleveland was the opponent, 48. The date numerology was 48. The Nationals were going for their 48th home win, and they got it. And then they got their 49th on the 49-date numerology and their 50th on the 50-date numerology to get into the playoffs. You see? And if you go back and look at the box scores, I think one of the games, the Nationals won 8-2. Maybe even 2 games in the series. But, yeah, it's just, you document this kind of stuff year after year. So there were multiple tributes with the Astros and Rangers throughout the season that we covered, and then we caught this last one with the Nationals, and I was like, that connects Houston and D.C., what you could call Bush family cities. And, of course, Bushes are connected to MLB. And, when Verlander just got humiliated the other day, coming in on short rest, that was against Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay equals 137. Verlander picked up the 137th loss of his career in that game. And he did it on short rest. Short rest equals 56. I put up a video the other day about how right after the 56th pitch, they put up a stat about him pitching on short rest. And the Astros were huge favorites in that game, even though Verlander didn't have a history of pitching well on short rest. But we thought Tampa Bay looked like a good upset pick based on the fact Verlander could get his 137th loss. But the thing about that is that game was on the 281st day of the year. And let me just see if I can pull this up real quick. I just want you to see how deep this stuff is. Verlander's humiliation ritual was on the 281st day of the year. And let me see if I can get to all these 281s real quick. Okay, let me see. Well, here's what you need to know. George H.W. Bush just died in Houston, the 281 area code. And Verlander got humiliated on the 281st day of the year. And his father, Prescott Bush. Here, I'll just pull up Prescott Bush. I'll just show all this to you so you don't have to believe me on any of it. I know I have the post, but I'll just do it in real time. So Prescott Bush died October 8th, right? That's George H.W.'s father, the powerful senator. Made a lot of money during World War II. October 8th, the day he died, right? That's the day Verlander just got the humiliation ritual. And you see how that's the 281st day of the year? It's also the day leaving 84 days left in the year. Masonry 84, Jesuit 84. Verlander came out after 84 pitches in that game. Came out after 84 pitches. You know, here for anyone who thinks I'm making this up, I mean, look, trust me, I never say anything that's false on this channel unless I misspeak, and that doesn't happen very often. But box score, October 8, 2019 Astros. It's just comical just watching this stuff night after night. Today, Anibal Sanchez had his no-hitter going until his 103rd pitch, Scottish 103. But and by the way, Anibal Sanchez equals 115 like St. Louis. You got St. Louis in Game 1 on the day leaving 81 days left in the year. Cardinals equals 81. But here's Verlander. Came out after his 84th pitch. Gave up 4 earned runs. 11 outs. But here, there's one more of the Bushes. Here, Houston area code. 281. And what's his name? William Huntington Russell. That's it. This is one of the founders of Skull and Bones, and this is the trust of Skull and Bones is in his name. And he was born August 12th. He died May 19th, which is the 139th day of the year. We were just talking about Freemasonry 139, Bavarian Illuminati 139. Look at this. Whoops. August 12th. What year did he die? 85. August 12th, 1884. He had his last birthday in the year 84. May 19th, 1885. So it's 280 days after, or if you count the full span, he died on his 281st day of his age. 281 is the 60th prime number, and skull equals 60. So does order. Donald Trump, who gets down with a lot of these Skull and Bones rituals, 60. You know, he doesn't necessarily have to be in the fraternity to be connected to it, to be a pawn of it. And yeah, again and again, it's just all the same numbers that we just talked about. From Bush's hospitalization to his death, 187 days, homicide code. It's the same numbers again and again. And yeah, there's a deeper riddle too between the deaths of these people throughout history and how they connect to each other. When Prescott Bush, how it synced up with George W. and George H.W. Here, I mean, just my goal tonight before I wrap it up is to leave every last skeptic with something to think about. Hold on. Okay, so Prescott Bush died October 8th, 1972, which again has the 281 connection. And George W. Bush, his birthday is July 6th, 1946. Him, Trump, and Clinton all born next to each other. Trump was born June 14th, 46. Bill Clinton was born August, I forget what day he was born, maybe the 19th, 1946. Hold on, I just got to see what day Clinton was born. Yeah, 19, the 8th prime, Chaos 19. His blowjob, the most infamous blowjob in history. The American people, their minds were in chaos. It was all they cared about, him and O.J. Simpson. That was the 90s in 2 seconds. Okay, but George W. Bush, July 6th. So, July 6th. What year did Prescott Bush die again? 72. 1972. October 8th, 1972. So, you see how from Bush's birthday to Prescott Bush's death was 94 days, like how his father would go on to die at age 94? And the reason I said that Bush wouldn't make it past November and he would die at 94 is because when you write out 94, it has some special numbers. 147.57. We're talking baseball, right? World Series is 147.57. But 94, the 147 part, Conspiracy's 123. Federal's 51. Conspiracy's also 51. Think about Area 51. But anyway, with regards to 147, this is the point I want to make about 147. U.S. President equals 147. President of the United States, when spelled correctly, is 147. See this? And check this out. How many windows on the White House? There are 147 windows. Now we know why there's 132 rooms and 147 windows. Freemason is 147. Conspiracy is 147. If you watch the first 11 minutes of the new film about Neil Armstrong, if you watch the first 11 minutes of that film, it might even be just the first 10 minutes, but it's right in there, just right at the beginning. They put 147 on the screen twice. In the beginning, when he's struggling with the Earth's atmosphere, it shows the height of the craft. I forget exactly what measurement it is, but it's clear as day that it's at 147, wherever this great struggle is. Check this out. Outer space, 147. Spaceship, 147. The list goes on. NASA's controlled by Freemasonry. But also, later, you see this equation written, and it says V equals 147. That's what they write out, right? V equals 147. Now notice V is the 22nd letter. In numerology, 22 is called the master builder, which equals 147, right? Football, there's 22 men on the field from the first Sunday to Super Bowl Sunday every year. Is 21 weeks or 147 days. Check out the dimensions of a basketball court sometime and tell me what you find. Do a little elementary math on it. But anyway, that's why we said Bush wasn't going to make it past 94. Now, coming back, we just measured from George W. Bush's birthday to the death of Prescott Bush. Let's do George H.W. Bush. So Prescott died August 8th. Not August 8th, excuse me. October 8th. George H.W. Bush, his birthday is June 12th, right? June 12th. And we want to do 1972. It's not going to make a difference, but that was the year. Look at how many days it was from his birthday to his father's death. And again, both of these men were father-son, powerful politicians, successful businessmen, maybe not so much because of their brains, but because of what they were born into. And 118 days, again, in the most pure cipher, the alphabetic order, with the rules of numerology. George Herbert Walker Bush is 118. And again, when you write out 41 with the alphabetic order, it's 118. You know? And again, Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from an ossuary, 118. And for years, I didn't know any of these other ciphers except for the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order of the rules of numerology. And somebody keeps calling, so I'm going to answer real quick. What's up, caller?
Zachary?
Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Destiny.
Okay, what's going on?
Hey man, it's Demetrios and Destiny. We're calling about Saturday's game against. I know you were talking about George W. Bush, and me and Destiny were talking about the Houston versus Cincinnati game, and then the Houston versus Kansas City game. Which one do you like better?
All right, so here, go look at the records of the Cincinnati versus Houston game and tell me what would happen if Cincinnati won and Houston lost.
Okay. I think it's.
I already know what it is.
Oh, you do? I think it's 3-3 if Houston wins.
If Houston wins, they're 3-3, right? But check it out. If Cincinnati wins, they're 5-1, right? And if Houston loses, they'll be 2-4, and Bearcats is 24. But one thing to think about is any word in reduction that has an S in it, you have to consider that you can add +9 for that S. S is special. So Bearcats does have the 33 connection as well. But if Cincinnati won, they'd be 5-1, and Houston would be 2-4. It'd be like a tribute to Cincinnati Bearcats. Usually things go that way. So.
Okay, so you're saying stay away from that Houston game, huh?
Well, I'm saying it looks like Cincinnati. The numbers are there to support them getting it done on the road.
How about
Well, here, I'm not going to do any more, man. You interrupted a good live stream to ask for sports picks, which is pretty disappointing. Sign up for Patreon. All right, later, man.
We're not.
No, you are. I mean, you called in and asked me what the outcome of a sports game is going to be. So anyway, I gave it to you, and then you asked for another one. So I was like, nah, man, you can sign up for Patreon. That's what I do there all day. I got on here to talk about how messed up all this stuff is. Now people need to wake up to it, not do another 5 minutes of sports picks when literally that's what I do all day, every single day. All of you guys who ask me for sports picks when I've been telling you what I've been doing for months, honestly, I got to let you guys know it's really annoying. It's like, man, you guys can't just support for $5 for what I'm doing, get all this free content. It's about more than sports picks anyway. It's about supporting this movement. Got to call and ask for free picks to interrupt an important live stream. Come on. So anyway, one last point about this 118 thing. Remember, this number is connected to death. And just as a reminder, Paradise, California equals 118. Los Angeles, California equals 118. And both of those places had the deadliest wildfires in California history on November 8th, 118. Los Angeles is also on the 118th meridian. In Jewish gematria, which is the most important outside of these base ciphers, in my opinion, death is 118, and homicide is 118. So, and again, we talked even about it this morning, didn't we? This morning we got our latest 118. It was, where was it at? This Marie Ivanovich even had the 281 in it thing today, but hold on. Right here, this Saddle Ridge fire, this fire that broke out by the numbers today. They said the Saddle Ridge fire, 81, exploded on the day, leaving 81 days left in the year. And this is just like how I showed how the World Series 2017 Astros over Dodgers was synced up again with the flooding and the fires in LA. And I said water puts out fires. Astros got the better brittle. But again, just clockwork. From sports to the weather warfare, it's all synced up. Planned terrorism, 9/11, Patriot Act, Patriots, NFL, it's all synced up. But Saddle Ridge fire, 81 on the day, leaving 81 days left in the year. This stuff's not an accident. It's how the cabal rolls. The secret societies roll. That's why they do their sports teams the same way they do their planned burnings. They blame on Mother Nature. If you missed the video I put out this morning, here's the point I want to show about this, though. In the reporting of the fire, they're sure to write mandatory evacuations have been issued to roughly 23,000 homes, making up a huge swath of neighborhoods north of the 118 freeway from Tampa Avenue. And isn't that strange? Because you just had a big postseason series in Tampa. Something else. But always, always, always just put the same numbers in front of your face, and you realize that the reason the same numbers are there is because they're a language, and they're used ritualistically to essentially taunt and mock the populace. And according to the Kabbalist wizards, to cast spells, to make their agenda more successful, you know. Playing God, so I guess my camera came back. By the way, Marie Ivanovich today in the headlines. Where was the 281 in here? I saw the 281. I was like, God, is even this thing Skull and Bones? What doesn't Skull and Bones have their hands on? Marie Louise Ivanovich 281, and just here. Again, for somebody who's still scoffing somehow at this point in the video, her name's 88 like Trump, like Manafort, who got in trouble in Ukraine earlier. Done about 500 blog posts on Trump in 88 since he began running in 2015. CNN emphasizes unfounded and false claims. The only thing they emphasized in the article like that. 88 program poison, showed that in today's earlier video. Also sums to 223, that 322 in reverse, 223, the 48th prime, Donald Trump 48, Freemason 48, Hebrew and English, Illuminati 48. And she took her post May 18th, the 138th day of the year. Remember, Nationals equals 138, Dave Martinez 138, St. Louis Cardinals in their 138th season. But Donald Trump, Paul Manafort, Federal all 138. Her name 281, the Skull and Bones Connect, the 60th prime like Donald Trump. Her name also 110 like Ukraine like President. And again, for years I just studied the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. When I started to look at reverse gematria, I just saw how it like fit in every single time. I was like, this is not a coincidence. The language is coded out. Because check this out. For years, I looked at just this right here. I'm going to close this out with this. Because I got on way too long, and I know my lady's super pissed right now. I heard her stomping around about, I've lost track of time, maybe 20 minutes ago. That was not a good sound. But check this out. When you write out president, it sums to 47, right? I forget. Is White House 47? White House is not. Government. Let me see. Government, it's not. Authority. Republican. The Republican Party came out of the Whig Party, right? Whigs 47. And so I used to do this, and I was like, well, is Democrat 47? I was like, oh, it's not. It's like, I wonder why some things are, but some things aren't. Well, then, for years, I looked at that, and I was like, maybe that's the party with the tighter Republican connection, or I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Abraham Lincoln made the Whig Party the Republican Party, gave the speech 7 years ago. Well, anyway, then I learned reverse gematria, right? And I was like, when I just saw things like this, I was like, whoa, Democrats 137, like the big number in Washington, D.C., like how the Masonic Bible, Morals and Dogma, which has a statue of it in Washington, D.C., which equals 137. Anyway, when I just saw things like, if you guys don't know, Morals and Dogma is written by Albert Pike, Scottish Rite Freemason, Confederate war general, only Confederate with the statue in D.C., and think about when they took down all the Confederate statues all down the eastern seaboard the other year, and just all over the place. They didn't take down the Pike statue. They didn't take down Pikes in D.C. What's up with that? I didn't hear a single peep about it in the news. This kind of stuff's a giveaway when you think about it. It's like, okay, that's too symbolic to take away, huh? Him with that Morals and Dogma book in his arm. He says Freemasonry owes all thanks to Kabbalah in that book. And like we talked about earlier and we showed, Kabbalah equals 137 in Hebrew, 33rd prime. Federal 33, Masonry 33, Secrecy 33, Order 33, Nationals 33. You know, Scottish Rite Freemason, George Washington, 33rd degree Scottish Rite, city named after him. Washington, D.C., 137, 33rd prime. You know, it's just all too perfect. Government, authority, all those words, federal. Anyway. So I was like, oh, Democrats 47. And I was like, what about White House? White House 47. I was like, whoa. You know, government 47. The cabal 47. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Trump. We'd already figured it out before he became president. Trump was running for office when we figured out reverse gematria. But we'd been looking at it from just these two for several years. And then, you know, Trump 47. He's in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night of the rigged election. Again, president. 47, White House. Even the letters DC 47. So that's just why when we ran it in reverse, it was just like, okay, this is undeniable. And then there were just things like this. You know, gavel and judge are the exact same in every cipher. Can you see that? Gavel and judge, the exact same. And if you go back, Merrick Garland, the first Supreme Court justice that Trump put in, he was sworn in on April 7th. 4-7, this big number in DC. And you see the 88 and 25? Again, Trump is 88 and 25 as well as 47. Hold on. I can't think right now the dude's name. Wait a minute. Am I tripping? It's not Merrick Garland. What's wrong with me? What is the name? I'm going to show you. Hold on. What is the name of the... Merrick Garland was the guy who didn't get in, and then they put in... Hold on. I cannot think of his name right now. But I'm going to show you how his name is 88. Like Trump and Judge, and why he was sworn in April 7th, and a few other things about him. Neil Gorsuch. That's his name. That's funny. Normally that one's just right there, but tonight it was... I don't know where it went. All right, Neil McGill Gorsuch. That's his name. That's where I was getting the Merrick thing. McGill. That's it. Okay, so we got Neil McGill Gorsuch. Check this out. His full name is 187, right? Again, we went over this. George Washington's 187. Washington, D.C.'s a 187. Big numbers in D.C. So his full name's 187. It's also 88, like Judge, like Gavel, like Trump, like the Republican Party. 88. And it's not just that. I mean, look at this. Trump's 88, right? Got endorsed by 88 generals, a million other things. Bill Maher said he only knows 88 words. Look at this. Clinton, 87-102, right? We won't even talk about the 33-39. 87-102. Go back and look up the story of the 102-year-old woman campaigning for her. And look at the Democratic Party. The news came out on 10/2 about Bernie's heart problem. And whatever, I forget what the medical term is for it, it equals 102. And then he just had the death of the young woman in his family. If I remember right, she was born on the 87th day of the year. I just did a video on that. That's the thing. I cover so much information. I suffer from the United States of amnesia disease, too. I forget even the things I talked about 5 days earlier. That's why I got to go back over my stuff. But pretty sure that young woman that just died, I think she was 46. The sacrifice number, like Genesis 46 begins with the sacrifice. Like Bo Biden died at age 46. But anyway, I'm getting tired. Oh, what else did I need to say about Neil McGill Gorsuch? Hold on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at these numbers. 59, 58, 166, right? Remember, Trump won the 58th U.S. presidential election. Ran from the 58-story Trump Tower. He hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. The camera was on Ivanka. Miss 58 through the whole ceremony. But 59, 58, and then we'll do 166. Freemasonry, 58, 59, right? Hold on. Neil Gorsuch, 166. Check out Secret Society. 166, right? And the 131. By the way, Freemasonry is 59 in Hebrew and English. 59 is the 17th prime number. Modern Freemasonry began June 24th, 1717. 6 plus 24 plus 17, 47. In London, just using the alphabetic order if you don't know this, London 74, English 74, Gematria 74, Occult 74, Jewish 74, Masonic 74, Holiday 74. The alphabetic order and rules of numerology, Independence Day 74, like 7-4. George Washington 74 with the reverse alphabetic order and rules of numerology. But anyway, 59, the 17th prime. Modern Freemasonry began in 1717. Mason equals 17. And from 1717 to 1776 is how many years? Is it 59? Is it 59? 17's the 7th month. Excuse me. 17's the 7th prime. 17 the 7th prime. The 7th month. 7 is the 4th prime. The 4th day. 7-4. God created the world in 7 days. The 4th book of the Bible's Numbers. These numbers have a lot of mathematical relationships. The occult belief is God is the master mathematician that created everything through geometry and sacred geometry. And gematria, the practice of coding in numbers and words, from Kabbalah means geometry and language. Again, if you read the book, just by the way, if you've been watching this video from the beginning, you'd probably be on page 20 of my book by now, with 780 more pages to read. Like, literally, there's just so much to know about this. That's why you can just sit here and just talk forever. Even when someone gave you some magical gummy bears. So, sometimes I think I need my magical gummy bears sometimes to remember and connect the dots even better, but then sometimes it's the reason I can't remember Neil Gil Gorsuch. Anyway. What else is there about this guy? I think there's something else. Oh yeah, Neil Gorsuch is 131, the 32nd prime, America, Scottish. By the way, the Scottish Rite, their motto at the 32nd degree is the same as the Jesuits. Remember, Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry 187, Society of Jesus 187, from the Pope's birthday, who's a Jesuit, Society of Jesus, to Trump's birthday is a span of 187 days. Trump went to the Jesuit University Fordham just for 1 year, but I wonder what went on in that 1 year. What ritual could have taken place in Donald Trump's life at the Jesuit University in Washington, D.C., which was once the Catholic colony controlled by the Jesuits. Don't get me started about when Trump visited with the publicly Jesuit Pope Francis on May 24th, which is the 144th day of the year. What a Jesuit Pope. That's not what I want to type out. But that, I actually see something in there that's really interesting. Jesuit order is what I want to type in. 144th day of the year. Okay? May 24th. Go look it up. It's when Trump took that picture. It looked like Ivanka and what's the... it's not nice to call her the mail order bride, but isn't she? What's her name? Melania. Melania and Ivanka looked like something bad had just happened to them, honestly. You know what? I just have to put this picture up because a picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say. Hold on. Pope Francis, Donald Trump, Ivanka, Melania. This got to get it. This picture. Oh my God. Oh my God. How do I make it full screen? This isn't the one that looks so bad. This is the one where the Pope looks really depressed. Donald Trump has such a sinister grin. Well, I mean, they still do kind of look like they're dressed for the funeral, but there's one where they have a different expression. I guess it's this one, maybe. Yeah, this one, they just look... I mean, they look really off. I mean, what is wrong with these people? But this is from May 24th, 2017. Donald Trump was in Israel for Jerusalem Day. Think about the Knights Templar taking back the Kabbalistic knowledge to the Vatican after the Crusades. All this stuff's covered in my book. Anyway. Let me see. Anyway, Trump did go to Fordham, the Jesuit school. You know, Georgetown, another Jesuit school there in D.C. But, by the way, Jesuit Order 54. Baseball's 54. I love the gematria of baseball. Let's close out there, actually. Baseball, 54 with the alphabetic order. 54 outs in a complete game. 18. How many half innings? 162. Number of games in a Major League Baseball season in the modern era. 54 a game. Look at Major League Baseball. 162. Number of games in the season. 351, the 26th triangular number. Game equals 26. Ball game equals 26. Last year, Super Bowl 53. Patriots won the 26th Super Bowl for the AFC. Sony Michel, number 26, scored the only touchdown at the 53rd minute. 351 days after his birthday, which happened to be Michael Jordan's birthday, who also has 6 rings like Brady. And to bring it back to 26, Jordan, 26. NBA, Bryant, 26. 26, the God number in Hebrew and in English. That's why there's a 26-letter alphabet. So, by the way, all that's covered on the first page of the book. Plus way more, man. That's why all of you guys who don't read the book, trust me, you don't know jack shit because I don't talk about most stuff that's in the book. There's just way more to know. I should even study my own book. There's so much stuff in that book, I don't even remember everything I put in there. There's so much information in it. So, 223, Steve Scalise, Skull and Bones, February 2030, wanted to arm teachers. There's certain things I want to start to say that'll probably get the whole channel deleted again. I'm just going to let it go. I could wake up tomorrow, this whole channel could be gone. Remember how after I exposed Monday Night Football, remember what happened? I didn't get to ever post again. I exposed the first Monday Night Football game, how it was synced up with the death of Bart Starr. The next morning I wake up, my channel's suspended. Suspended for 2 weeks. When the 2-week suspension ends, I put up a video to let people know I've been suspended. My suspension's ended, and I let people know that I'm probably going to be slowing down posting on the channel until October 18th. That's when I would have had to have waited to get the second strike off there. Because when you get the third strike, that's when they delete the channel. But then they just decided to strike an old video on me commenting on Joe Rogan calling people like myself mentally ill. I defended myself from Joe Rogan and Alex Jones attacks, saying that essentially I was mentally ill as well as anyone who thinks like me. And for defending myself in that video, 5 months after defending myself, Google took down my whole channel. Isn't that nice? The 18th time that my channel's been deleted. Somehow, every time your channel gets deleted, it gets harder and harder to get any subscribers back. It's weird how that works. Oh, man. But yeah, it's just always the same numbers all throughout history. We haven't even talked about the Steve Scalise shooting. Go back, I haven't covered it since that happened. On July 5th, he was put in the ICU. 5-7, like 57, the World Series number, like how the shooting was on a 57 date numerology. It's 93 days from his birthday, the number for Saturn, the keeper of time. If you counted the span, it would have been 94 days. When you write out 94, it equals 57, like July 5th, 5-7, like World Series. Hold on, that's all that comes up for the Steve Scalise shooting? It can't be. Yeah, let me see. I guess I'm going to go for the distance. We're going extra innings, huh? Okay, June 14, 2017. His date with 37 numerology. Shooting in Congress is 37. Pointed out politics equals 113, the number of mainstream deception. The Bush family after the 113th World Series. The shooter's name, James T. Hodgkinson, 113. That was pointed out by Andy Gadd at the time. Thank you, Andy. Your comment is forever archived until phase 2 of Google censorship. That's what I don't even want to say it out loud. Appreciate this blog while it's still here. There's 30,000 posts on this thing. A lot of hard work. That's why all of you guys who ask me questions every single day if I've covered something, it drives me nuts when I put in all this hard work on this blog. I'm like, this just goes to show these people just sit and they just watch the mainstream headlines all day and then constantly relay, Zach, have you covered this story? It's like, why don't you follow my blog and see what I've covered for the day? I normally put up about 15 posts a day. So, most hard work not appreciated. His name was also 94, the shooter. Just like it was a span of 94 days when he went back to the ICU from his birthday. Oh yeah, Rand Paul came out. Bernie Sanders, Ron Paul. Special types of puppets. The ones that seem like they're believable. They're there for that small, tiny part of the percentage of the population that's almost awake. That's who the Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders people are. Because people who are awake, they knew for sure. I mean, for me, it was the for sure moment, and I'm sure it's happened many times in history. But I was 17 years old. It was for sure that government was bullshit after George W. Bush became the president of the United States in the way it did in the Florida 43 ritual. If only I knew gematria then. And hey, Mr. Griffin, if you're out there, in a friendly way, fuck you. Turns out you were the idiot. See, I had this teacher in high school, Mr. Griffin. I'll never forget his name because he called me an idiot in front of everybody and went on about why I was an idiot because I was saying that it seemed like the elections must be rigged if they know for an entire month before the election it's going to come down to Florida and it's going to come down to the state where his brother's the governor and then the election goes the way it does. For those of you who weren't alive or too young in 2000, Al Gore was declared the winner of the election. All the news channels put it up. 30 minutes later, Fox News put it out first, and everyone followed suit. That Florida was actually really close, and maybe George W. Bush could actually end up being the winner. So then they all went neutral, and then big fiasco, and then Bush was declared the winner. And I was just going, you got to be kidding me. I mean, Bush got dumber over the years. So if you saw him in 2000, he was a lot smarter than 2008, at least in terms of how he spoke. It's like every year he lost like 10 IQ points at least. It's probably in negative territory. You know that pose where he went to grab the door? He's like, do you know that one? I love that one. Anyway, man, if you don't know what I'm talking about, type in Bushisms. I still die when Bush is on the Bushisms. Hold on, I'm gonna take one more caller. Caller?
Fiasco and then Bush declared the winner.
Caller, you gotta turn off your video. Alright. You gotta turn off the video.
Yeah, they rigged that election.
They rig them all, man.
I was told at the Harvard Club, listen to me very carefully. Are you there?
I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening. You got the floor.
Okay. I was there. I was told in the Harvard Club by a CIA asset that George W. Bush was going to be our next president. That was in 1999.
Yeah? And he was real confident. He guaranteed he would win.
Yeah, they knew he was going to win. They did rig it for him. And the operative words that they used were, we got to do some work on him, but he's going to be our next president.
They didn't do enough work, but somehow it sufficed.
You got to admit, though, he was the funniest president in modern times. I don't know. Trump's giving him a run for his money, but W was funny.
Trump doesn't make me laugh, though. Trump just makes me cringe like, God, I hate this fucking character. But, you know...
But he's goofy. You can't take... If you take Trump seriously, then you've lost your humor.
Well,
I don't...
Okay,
Yeah.
You could be right. Maybe I need to come about this from a different perspective.
Yeah, you see, the problem is that the people who hate him, his detractors, take him seriously. He doesn't even take his detractors seriously.
He doesn't take anything seriously. He doesn't take anything seriously.
I mean, come on, if you were the president of the United States, would you take it seriously?
But he's not dopey. He's not dopey. It's like Bush was just such a dope, it was funny. I mean, it was like watching The Fourth Stooge. So...
He was one of the... I thought Clinton was funny, but Bush beat him by a landslide. Oh, he was way funnier.
Yeah, so...
Way funnier.
Yeah, I mean...
You know, and he knew he was going to be the president. He just was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. So... But I knew in 1999, they said, this guy's going to be our next president.
Yeah? Well, that's nice, the other kind of inside knowledge.
By hook or crook. And they use both.
Right.
Yeah. Just a friendly reminder from area code 281.
Yeah. All right, well, I appreciate it, friend. Thanks for the call.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. Hey, I just realized something else. You know how Secret Society was 185? So was Steve Scalise. And what did I say? Was it from the game where they paid tribute to Bush on April 20th to the World Series is 185 days? Oh my God. Steve Scalise is 185. I'm so glad I heard that doofus talk today, Donald Trump. This could help out a lot of people. We'll see. We'll see. Let me see. Was it 185 days? I got the wrong year in there. 1972. It was 185 days. If you got here late, we talked about how we documented on Patreon before the game was played on April 20th how it would be a tribute to the death of George Herbert Walker Bush, and it was just everything we dreamed it would be. Skull and Bones, how all this stuff synced up, the Steve Scalise shooting, all of it. Where was my slide I was on? Steve Scalise, where did I put it? I got too many windows open. Steve Scalise, 77 like Houston. Washington, D.C. on the 77th meridian. Secret Society, 77. You know what somebody showed me that's creepy? D.C. in the Satanic Cipher sums to 77. Not reverse. 77. And again, Houston, 77. Houston, we do have a problem. Way too many sheep. Not enough people talking about gematria. The whole city of Houston should know all about this knowledge, all that we've exposed. The World Series in 2017, just all this stuff. The death of H.W. Everyone in Houston should know about gematria after that manufactured flood on the 20-year anniversary of the death of Stevie Ray Vaughan, who had the best-selling album Texas Flood. On the 239th day of the year was that flood. 52nd Prime, Flood 52, Hurricane 52. Matt Harvey pitched in Houston, the first pitcher in Houston after the flood, 52 days before the start of the World Series. California 52. Fire 25, Latuna Fire, Harvey flooding. Water puts out fire, LA over Astros. Government, military, direct energy weapons, secret societies. It's what's going on, man. And it's obvious. It's obvious they got the sports leagues and the government. Look at it just from the Bush family perspective. How many other secrets? See, that's part of the thing. Like, so many people in the conspiracy community, they think they got it all because they're like, it's all the Bush family. It's all the Clintons. I mean, Bill and Hillary Clinton aren't even related to the Clinton family. Bill Clinton was born Bill Blythe. His biological father died May 17th, the 137th day of the year. He's found dead in a ditch, literally. Police said he drowned himself. He was driving from Chicago. Who lives in Chicago? Back to his home in Arkansas and found dead in the ditch. Relatively young man. Bill Clinton wasn't even born yet. His father died May 17th. Bill Clinton was born August 19th. And his mother remarried into the powerful Clinton political dynasty out of New York. First governor, George Clinton. That's why she became senator there. But Hillary. So anyway, Bill doesn't have bloodline to the Clintons. Hillary doesn't. She has the name through Bill. I'm sure they got bloodlines to other people. But so maybe the people in the conspiracy community that are so caught up on the names that are in the mainstream, It's a fraternity of powerful people in secret societies. Hillary Clinton's not the kingpin of child sex trafficking like so many people believe who thought, Pizzagate was the end-all of, child sex trafficking. A pizza shop in Washington, D.C. and one politician, I mean, really? Again, like I was saying back then, this is a story that alludes to the truth, but sends the truth community on a goose hunt that looks kind of stupid. To assume that a pizza parlor, and I know Podesta was part of it anyway, they probably are all a bunch of creeps, but like I was saying then, it's not just them, and most of you guys who are saying this are like so partisan. You think it's just all Democrats? I said the Republicans are the same thing. Trump's probably the same thing. Trump gropes his own daughter. Trump talks about how he would love to date his own daughter. He started to say that stuff when she was 13. Oh, I would love to date her if I was younger. Ooh, she's going to be so beautiful. And I mean, it's nice to feel good about your daughter, but I mean, there's all the video evidence is there. For those of you who are saying prove it, do a web search. Donald Trump coming on to Ivanka. I can even put a video together. I used to show one in an older video on a channel deleted. Trump gushing over how beautiful his daughter is, how much he'd love to date her. I mean, what does that mean? Those of you who go, well, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, really? Oh, really? Really? Maybe the women in the crowd don't get it. Some women seem to. Sorry, I love women. I don't want to say anything that pisses anybody off. Some women, though, are clueless, right? They're the ones that end up with the man beaters and get used and abused and confused. I mean, it happens. But I feel like those are the women who cheer for Donald Trump. But, if you're not super naive, if a man wants to date a woman, he wants to have sexual relations with her. Even as a little kid, what do you want to do? You want to kiss her. You want to make out. You want to start feeling things. It's usually what you want to do after you start dating, right? When you're a teenager. So, yeah, it is gross. It's gross to say that you want to date your daughter. That's why Donald Trump doesn't make me laugh. He's just gross. I mean, he's just like a repulsive looking person. He's just gross. I mean, I don't find. Sometimes I think there might be a time here or there where he said something where it just made me like, like one of those, but never like Bush. Sometimes I used to just die at how stupid Bush was. I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe that I live in this nation. Like, this is a legitimate nation. That I keep saying I'm going to close out. Let me try to get out one last thought and close out. The reason I'm the way I am is because all of this stuff happened, Bush and 9/11, it all happened right. It was what was supposed to be the greatest time of my life. And it was the greatest time for a couple of weeks, to be perfectly honest. You guys, when I grew up in a household where I had two slave parents who all they did was work their ass off, and I mean 7 days a week, long hours, grunt work. My mom cleaned houses. My dad drove a truck delivering meat, did side jobs, umpire softball, referee basketball, try to do a vending machine thing. He just, my parents just always working hard but never making very much money, not well educated. And because of that, they were grumpy people. They were always yelling and screaming at each other, me. I just couldn't wait to get out of that house. And I knew from a young age to not be in that house. And I spent a lot of time away from that house. I was responsible as a young person. Because I had an older sister who was like a second mom. But anyway, I just couldn't wait to get out of that house. And when I got out of that house, I was like, thank God. And I was living in Arizona, far away from the Pacific Northwest where I'm from. And, just having a great time from about the middle of August until about September 11th. So I'd say for about a month. I was just having a great time. I was free. Everything was going well. Having a lot of fun as a young man in Arizona. Anyway, and then 9/11 happened. And 9/11 just fouled up my mood because I was trying to ignore what I'd just seen with Bush in the presidency and just like the fact that no one seemed to care and it just seemed so illegitimate. And I thought, like, God, I am living in Bullshitville. And I got my teacher calling me an idiot for calling this out. And anyway, then 9/11 happened. And I was like, oh my God. If there's anything more obvious than the fraud election of Bush, it is this. I mean, seriously? A demolition, buildings exploding and turning into dust, and they're blaming it on a man in a cave? And now that I'd chosen to sign up for the military, I'd be getting shipped off to Iraq after the recruiter told me there'd probably never be another war in my lifetime? And I thought then, thank God I'm not a gullible sheep. I told that recruiter then as a teenager that I just knew that the U.S. was always at war. So that's hard to believe. I'd already heard that stat about how many years the U.S. had been out of war. Like all but 20-some? I mean, that's a military machine empire. And that's what 9/11 was needed for, because that was the talk at that time, that we might never need a war. The world's just all in peace. Because, see, that's what they sold my generation growing up in high school. The problems were solved. The technology was here. We were all going to live long, peace, abundance. This is what they were preaching to my generation. And then 9/11 happened. And all of a sudden, it's a crazy world. You just had Columbine. Those kids, they wrote a journal saying they fantasized about hijacking planes and sending them into towers. Now you got 9/11. You got their wet dream come true. I mean, anyway. I just couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe that people couldn't see through this shit. And then if you try to talk about it, people got mad at you. And people criticized you and said you were crazy and dumb and tinfoil hat and conspiracy theory and you're what's wrong with the country, and if you don't like it, then move. You know, and it's just like all of a sudden I was just like, man, I don't want to know anybody. It didn't matter if they were guys or girls. I was trying to talk about stuff to everybody because I just needed to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And I was like, man, well, I don't know. Maybe it was just the biggest damper, and just being it's nice that I got to be free and have a lot of fun for a month. You know, it was well deserved. I worked hard my whole time growing up, but and it wasn't just like a freeloading time. I mean, it was my first semester at college. College will kick your ass if you don't halfway catch up. I got the first C in my entire life my first semester at college. It's because I got 35% on an economics test. I'd never like gotten lower than like 80-some% on any test in my life, but maybe having a little bit too much fun and taking that class too lightly. I did fine in everything else, but that first economics test, I was like 35%. Oh my god! And you have 3 tests that make up your whole grade. So I got 100% on the final 2 tests, but that was still a C because I had 235 points out of 300 for the year. So what is that? 70-some%. All because I bombed the first test, but it was okay because it motivated me to work hard, study for the rest of school, which was also bullshit and just all part of the bullshit that you got to go through in life to get places. So if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't even go to college, and I never would have gone to college in the first place if it wasn't for my mom. That's what she wanted. That's what Mama needed. But I'd already like been working hard as a kid and made decent money. I had paper routes. I had 4 paper routes. I did paper subscriptions. I worked at fast food restaurants, grocery stores. I had a bunch of money saved up by the time I was a teenager. And I think about it now, man, I just have to work my ass off for nothing. 4 paper routes accumulate a little more than $400 a month, which is a lot when you're 12 years old. But anyway, it's like, man, for a whole month, 4 paper routes. I was delivering like 500 papers, and you'd only get 400 for the month. That's 6 days a week. So what is that? It's like not even $20 a day for hours and hours of work. My nephew's got a job lifeguarding for $20 an hour, and he thinks it's too hard. Oh my god. Getting paid to just chill out and pick up chicks. Oh my goodness. It's because he grew up rich. My sister married into money. So I get to see this whole different reality. It's like, anyway. But anyway, I mean, that's just what it was. That happened to me, and I was like, my mentality out of that was like, you know what? This world is so fucked up. Somebody needs to step up and turn the light switch on in the brains of the masses. And I always had that idea in my head ever since 9/11 and really the Bush election. And by 2013, it took that long for me to say, you know what? This is the most important thing that needs to be done in the world. Somehow it still hasn't been done yet. And I guess instead of waiting for somebody else to do it, let me try to step up to the plate and see what I can bring to the table. And I do feel like I brought a lot to the table in the time I've been here, but because of, the censorship and no cooperation from any big truth channels, the work's never reached enough people like it should. Doesn't mean it won't in time, but it's a reminder that when you're working against powerful forces, things take longer than they should, I guess. So, all right, Truth Seeker. It's 1:27, huh? Let me go 1 extra minute so I don't get accused of being in the Bavarian Illuminati. That was a big talking point here earlier. Hey, just for one more teaching point. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 127, right? Bavarian Illuminati, 127. And remember, George Washington, he wrote the letter saying that he believed the Scottish Rite had been infiltrated by the Bavarian Illuminati. But to me, the whole way that language syncs up, unless Adam Weishaupt named the Bavarian Illuminati what he did with the plan of infiltrating the Scottish Rite and taking it over. So there's some people that contest that I'm wrong because the Freemasons who established the nation had a great idea to make this free nation protected from tyranny, but when I think about that, my problem with that story is how they had to wipe out a continent of people, which they gladly did, to create their free nation. And they justified it with manifest destiny, being a superior people. And you know what? There's people who say, well, weren't they a superior people? I mean, they wiped them out. That means they were superior. I don't think that's right. You know, if here's why I don't think that's right. Imagine two men come face to face, right? And one man's honest and the other is not. And the agreement is when they come face to face that they're going to fight with their bare hands, and the winner of the fight gets what they want. This is how they're settling their dispute, with a fight. And as they come up to greet each other, and let's just say the ritual is you shake on it. Before the shake, let's say the one guy who's the not honest person and who knows he probably can't win the fight, let's say he has a hidden dagger and he slices this guy, you know, and he bleeds real bad. He stabs him again and this guy dies, the honest guy. Does that mean the dishonest person was superior because he killed the honest person? So, somebody say, well, that's not the same, Zach. We had gunpowder and they didn't. Okay. Yeah, you can make an argument, but still. I just don't think that that's superior to wipe out another people. And to me, honestly, it doesn't seem like they came over here to set up a free nation either. By the way, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, it's free. Or it's when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, free equals 74. Like how holidays 74, like Independence Day, like almost everything in Gematria. Like how my book was banned on Etsy on the 74th day of the year. Independence Day, Gematria 74, English 74, Masonic 74, Occult 74, Jewish 74. Brooklyn, New York, where my book was banned, the headquarters of Etsy 74. Anyway. Okay. Too many tangents. I got past 127. It's 1:30. That's a good time to sign off from Washington State. I didn't plan it, but it is just a good time. Until next time.